Oh, I could Tiffany will be present.
No.
She's
Hey.
not.
We're only going to be in 1 meeting a month.
Oh, okay, so.
Hey, Robert.
Hi, Alan.
Is that everything? I thought it was part of the deal. So, since now.
Yeah. Okay. We are connected and recording and all set up. So I called meeting to order, check, quorum. We have 3 board members present and 1 online through Zoom. Before we get to the rest of these things, we do have a guest here tonight, Jay Hill from NV5. Jay, thank you for being here. Sure, let's go ahead and get you comfortable. And I'll go back to. Jay, as I said, from NV5, is initiating the next step in the process for us from a project management perspective. He's come to our community last week, I believe it was. NV5 is doing a couple different tracks with us. One, the forensic engineering in terms of root causes of water intrusion, and also drywall reparations within owner units. And Jay is with the same company, different division, and we have asked him to come in to look at how do we create the technical and specific and clear RFP process to close up the mansards on 2 and 3, the roofs on 2 and 3, and then the rest of the buildings and potentially mansards. So the reason he's here tonight is a discussion with the board, because there's been a bunch of emails going through and we are time sensitive. And so this discussion with the board is about how do we set that up in a manner that we can close the loop and allows us to ask the questions to you. Jay, you are maybe just do 1-2 minute, just who you are and sort of your approach on this.
Sure. Like Robert said, our company NV5 has been on the property for.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, okay.
I am recording.
That's okay.
Are you comfortable with that and good? Okay, just so you know.
Yeah, for sure. So NV5 has been on the property for a while, doing all of the investigative forensics part of the deal. And so now we're getting to the point where things really need to start moving back towards, let's get these roofs buttoned up, the ones that have been taken off, repaired, fixed, and then start into roofs 3 and 4 and the pool house. So as Robert and I spoke the other day, he had some questions for me about my approach to what it was that I thought. And so there are a number of different ways and that we could talk about this. One of them would be phasing it and putting each phase of the project out to different bidders in different sections and that. And my initial gut reaction to that was, I think that's a bad idea. And I think it's a bad idea because if we put it out to Robert's roofing company first, and he does the mansards and the roofs on 2, and then on 2 and 3, then we come back and it's Jay's roofing company that does bits and pieces of the other part of it. Now we've got two separate entities that we're looking at that can all point fingers at each other. So if we don't want to, I would not want to separate the work out into a situation where more than one person is responsible. We'll have to get into the bidding process, and there are a lot of other things that we probably need to talk about. And they're not long discussion items. They're just quick decisions. Do we want a bond? If we had a bond on this the last time, some of the issues that we had. And I understand that a lot of homeowners associations don't want to use bonds because we have to pay for them, right? And sometimes it's a cost. But but anyway, those are discussions that we'll have as we move forward through the RFP process. Sure.
What is your title officially?
Oh, I'm a project manager. That's
your title.
That's it. Project manager.
And you basically do forensic work.
I do not do forensic work. I
That's
do
a
project-
different division.
Yeah, I do project management.
Project management.
Yeah, sorry.
So
So
somebody saying something about forensic.
I said there's two different divisions, and this is a conversation with the board.
yeah, so to clarify that. So we have our forensics division that's been on the property helping you all to understand where the leaks are coming from and how to get it all fixed and quantify the driver.
And when were you hired by Leeward?
I have not been hired yet,
Okay.
to my understanding. So that was part of the reason to come down here tonight to discuss this with you all. Because we sent basically an RFP to you
Okay.
or, yeah, we sent our proposal to you last week sometime. And there were still a lot of remaining questions from the board members, some of the residents, like, hey, what are we going to do here? Why would we do it this way? How can we do it? So instead of doing all of this back and forth through email and still continuing to create more questions, when Robert and I spoke yesterday, it was like, well, why don't I just come down to your meeting and spend 10 or 15 minutes, answer some questions and give you all a bit of a comfort level or a discomfort level. This may raise more questions and you go, oh, we don't want that. But as long as it's easier if I'm sitting here for you to ask questions. And if I don't have answers to questions, I can certainly write them down, put them in an email and send them back to you tomorrow. So, and the first question that we spoke about was, what should the bid process look like? And that's a great question. And because you have multiple buildings and now you have multiple buildings in various states of disrepair, it's important that we get those buildings closed up and get those buildings closed up fast. We've got a lot of weather coming our way over the next 6-8 months. I mean, we're coming into the rainy season, which isn't necessarily a good thing.
No.
When you've got open roofs. So the idea, at least from my perspective, would be to put together the RFP and bid package within the next week or two, get it done as quickly and as thoroughly as possible and get it out to bid so that somewhere in the next 4 to 6 weeks, we could have somebody under contract soon. And what we do after that, as far as phasing the project, is a completely different discussion. It's something that we can talk about with the contractor, because I'm not a roofing expert or a South Florida weather expert or any of that stuff. But it makes sense that they do this stuff all year long, every day, that they would have an idea going forward, like, all right, we need to not tear off 2 roofs. Not open up 2 full buildings. We need to, starting in like June, because June is basically the beginning of rainy season. We need to have half a building, or we're doing this as cautiously as possible. That's my thought process behind it. Again, as a project manager, I'm going to be your expert. As a nuts and bolts roofing guy, I'll have to get questions. I have one of my best friends actually owns a roofing company. So, and I can actually have him come out here he would be, I think he would be willing to come out here and say, here's the way I would tackle this if I were you. Sure.
Yeah, you mentioned something about 6 months, you hope you can start in 6 months. That does mean the other sections of that haven't started yet, is that correct? That you want to start on those. But the ones that already were damaged.
I understood.
How
what
fast
the
can you
six-
do those?
4 to 6 weeks.
Good. Okay.
Yeah, I was like, can I say six? Yeah, so 4 to 6 weeks, I would like to have a contractor on board. And then in that time frame, we'll have been able to put together a basic rough schedule that at this point, we're gonna do the mansards on building 2, the mansards on building 3. Then we're gonna open up the roof on building 2, the roof on building 3. When that's done, then we'll do the mansards on building 4, building 1 or building 4 or here, however we like to do it.
I still don't understand. Will you finish all process on those that you started already last year in January? You had started, but it was started in January, February. Will that be finished with mansard and everything up there?
That's the idea.
So,
Sure.
the point is, as he comes in as an engineering company, he would be project manager. What we're trying to do here is really get a clear request for proposal process that we can send out to independent licensed insured roofers. NV5 would consolidate that information, analyze that information, and present that information to us as a board, which is the ongoing principle, and which would then allow us to expedite through that process, make the selection, do due diligence, then make the selection, and essentially really get that roofer out as soon as possible. So that would be ideally correct.
The
Correct.
ones that are open have to be finished
Yeah.
first.
Right.
Joao.
That's how to start the work, right? Priority number 1 is advances, then continuation with moving 2 and 3, and that will depend. And by the way, this would be a criteria of evaluation. It's like saying, how long would it take to close 2 and 3?
Okay.
Because this is not only the price, the quality of the building.
Sure, so
Yeah.
our concern is that we will be one of the first ones that gets prepared because we are one of those that have the greatest damage. The other question is, because we cannot afford paying rent, my son is right there, renting place, there since November, I guess, wherever we had the first water damage. So that's, and the question is too, then would the mansard be enough? Once they are on top, that we can start renovating inside.
Oh, sure.
Can you?
No,
Yes.
I would say that was a.
I mean, if there's a gap.
I'm not a specialist.
Yes, but what usually the license
Yeah,
roofer would have.
you have to ask, right?
Is that anything that happened last year
Right.
would be like almost impossible to happen if we have a proper person working that.
Okay.
So that's why that when we are evaluating the roofers, the moment they take the work,
Yes,
they need to have insurance.
yes,
Yes, the roofer, by the way, it's not even the general contractor, and he has to have proper license.
yeah,
What
yeah.
this gentleman just said is that we've opened 2 mansards and we have our exposition in 2. Nobody does this anywhere. So it was a disaster project, it was a disaster in terms of license. This is everything that all of the contractor department attorney, like it should have possible.
I don't want to legal stuff,
Yes.
1 year,
So
I don't want to get started when I even pay for it, for that, and this is advanced,
This is
okay?
important because all of these
Yeah.
will guarantee you that we will have the right person on the roofs, not only to look at the time, but also to think that we only 2%, the roof are secured. But we were told probably 5 to 10 times before, it's the right person to know, because we are
Okay,
critical that it affects the person that.
okay. That's my only concern, that's why I can leave now again, everything else.
Yes.
Just-
The moment we have that word from the Uber saying,
Yeah.
you guys are going to be secure.
Yeah.
If you leave the very process with
And
the-
I'm not gonna say this.
Giving your time to.
I know, but we never had some answer. So we
Yeah.
had other things, the plastic flew away, I touched it many times, I told you.
So part of where Jay would guide us, and I'll say this before you go, is there's even before, well, in the process of selecting the roofer, there's the potential of saying, okay, if the roofer is selected, but they don't have all the supplies yet, or they don't have all the whatever, what can we do to ensure temporarily things are sealed? And not wait for the ideal situation.
And let me add something, because NV5 is doing, you already did a visit to all the units that were damaged, an assessment on the drywall. So we, as board and representatives channel 41, we do the replacement of the drywall so that all unit owners can then do the remaining part. And this goes on parallel. Yes.
Okay, all right. So we have to-
So going to
Well, Marcelo had a
this,
question. Okay.
But I was waiting for him to finish talking. I just want to understand your licenses and certifications. Like, what is your background? Is it an engineer?
I'm not an engineer. No, I'm
So
strictly
what
a
is your-
project manager. Project manager.
As a project manager, what license certification do you have?
I'm a project man. I don't have any licenses or whatever. I've been
Is
hired.
there someone in the team that does that, or you said you have a good friend that is in the roofing world?
Marcella, this is not a,
No, I'm asking.
okay, but
I'm just-
this,
I'm asking.
he's finance project manager.
Yeah,
And-
so I'll give you a quick background. I started out in the concrete business, managing, big, huge 48-story building projects, pouring concrete, doing, takeoffs and understanding in the bid process from the contractor's point of view. I've been with NV5 for 5 or 6 years now. My last project, and I have an ongoing project at Aquilina on Sunny Isles. We did the paint stucco restoration. We've got a roof project going on down there now. So I'm pretty well versed in how to, 99.9% of my job is observe and report, right? So, there are some licenses and stuff that go with being a project manager, but, they're not 100% necessary. If I were to hire somebody to work for me, it wouldn't necessarily be something that I would demand that they have. It's great if they do. Most of it is just being organized, being able to verbalize and write down the things that we see, document. Because my role for you is basically documentation.
Okay.
You want me to take pictures of the work that's been done, the work that hasn't been done, why hasn't it been done? I've got a spreadsheet of the schedules as they go on, all of this different stuff, so that I can report back to you as the board and say, look, this is where we are. This is how much it's cost. We're under budget, or we're going to be over budget because of X, Y, and Z. Unforeseen, we couldn't avoid it. And all projects have change orders for the most part. So some of the stuff is unavoidable, but we like to do in the upfront pieces to try to mitigate that as much as possible.
Right.
Right. You want to get and ask as many questions as possible in the pre-bid and RFP process that eliminates as many opportunities for change orders going forward. Because contractors are hungry and greedy, right? They look for any opportunity they can to charge extra, to recharge. And it's part of the game. So why you hire me is to keep an eye on that. And then if you see it, you go, well, wait a minute, we were not supposed to pay for that. Why? And I've got it in the contract, and either I can look in the contract and say, oh yeah, well, it does say right here in the contract, this is something that we need to do. Or no, you're absolutely right. The contract says we don't pay for that. They pay for it. And that's That's my expertise in a lot of cases.
Thank you for clarifying.
Yeah, sure.
I don't think there's anything wrong with clarification.
Yeah, no problem. Yes, ma'am.
Regarding to your job, first, I think it's very important what you got to do, because this is one of the problems we have, as a way of management. Make sure to have a property manager in this project. You're gonna have reports, and we can use these reports for the insurance issues, and also in case you go for a legal process, we can use your reports.
We will, but it's not from, that won't be from me.
So
That'll be from the forensic folks that, yes, ma'am. Yes.
So let me tell you, one of the things is the forensic work that is being done in Leeward points to understand exactly what took us the situation you live until the end of the year in another episode. This is a forensic work, has nothing to do with proper.
No, it's clear in your
Okay.
documents, so just trying to understand the work.
Yeah.
The other work is we have to do the recertification of the 15 years. We are also being supported to do this recertification. This is the management of the project to close all the work that we need to have all the roofs done. There is just a management of this project.
I see, thank you.
And I would like to get back to your rationale, because I agree completely with you, and I agree in the way you put it into X's. You said that one of the things is to decide if you're going to have, and that was like what I called the stage 0, which is 1 bidding, 2 biddings, or 3 biddings. I think we don't have the space for multiplying biddings. But on the second layer, then we have the complexity, like you've been saying, about how to put the conditions along the project. Okay. And I would like to highlight here in the board, we have at least 3 things that I would like to see it reflected. First of all, we are still pending the current contractor bought or not bought shingles. We have paid for these shingles. So we need to go through a process that we should be providing by this current contractor, the shingles, or at least wait for them to deny, and then we take them to court and say we pay for them. Right. By the way, you are completely right about double paying, etc. We just found out that we double pay. The association paid one thing, the owner paid exactly the same thing, 5,000 and another 2,000.5. The second thing that is important is that we have all of these materials, and this is Duro-Last. And we know that probably, and I don't know if we already received the report, but I don't think we have received by writing the report. They were doing an assessment and understanding how much of these is in good shape. And from what I heard from Robert in the last meeting, there will be a good percentage of good shape. That will allow us to have at least some of the materials for building 2 and 3. But from the past, there was like this vetting that the company needed to do for the contractors to validate the guarantee.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think you told me that they were coming out here last Wednesday.
Yes.
They did,
Yeah.
and they're gonna
meet with us, and they actually goes
and they're going to give you a report on.
every report.
Okay.
They will not yet.
Yeah.
No, really, yes. And my concern is that, as we can see from the past, I truly believe we need to have the most open bidding process and bring the best contractors in terms of quality, price, etc. We cannot put it through the funnel of the vetting of the roads, because they might play the game of saying, I can only vet 1, 2, or 3, because if not, I don't give you the guarantee. And so I think this needs to put somehow in the RFP, not only in terms of the addressing of this topic in Duro-Last, so how people would get the right agreement with Duro-Last to get the guarantee, but also I truly believe that when we go to building, when we go to building 1-4 in Clubhouse, because this is wildly expensive. And by the way, I live in building 4, so I would be the first one to be not to be beneficiated by these. Yes, we all live in building 4. I would say that we open the possibility at 1-4 in Clubhouse of not having Duro-Last, or having, okay, tell us Duro-Last or no Duro-Last proposals. So whenever they do let me just finish this with which is, because that means that then we can make a decision if we go for Duro-Last, we're going to spend another 800,000. Or if we don't go for Duro-Last, for example, we spend only 400,000. And then we take the decision if we want to maintain or not. And this needs to be in the RFP. And then finally, the last thing that is absolutely critical, and for these, we had a very bad experience in the past, among others, is about the mansards. there's a lot of opinions about the state of the mansards, and this was one of the things that got us through the roof in terms of spending. Whenever we go to building 1 and 4, I really recommend not to have the folks defending the chickens. Meaning what? We really need somebody independent looking to the state of the mansards and doing clear reports on the state of the mansards, because that will mean if we need to replace or we need to rebuild. So at the end of the day, we're going to need a proposal, which it's not that hard, but we're going to need a proposal for any of the bidders that will guarantee not only the Duro-Last or a solution that doesn't go for Duro-Last. It will need to bid us on mansards or replacement or not replacement and repair whatever percentage. And at the end of the day, the only problem we have in the shingles is that, and I believe it can live with your 4 to 6 weeks, is that we need to communicate through our attorney to the general contractor that was doing this work, ask for the shingles, because we need to give them time to say nothing like they've been saying, or to tell us we're not going to give you the shingles, because this will be obviously one of the things that we need to deal with our attorney, because we already paid for that. So, but the Duro-Last thing is very important, because at the end of the day, we cannot just allow ourselves to a list that will be vetted or not by Duro-Last. And just to kill this point, and just to be completely clear on the meeting and also on the minutes and the recording, Duro-Last vetted a non-licensed and a person that didn't have insurance in the past to tell for the buildings 1, 4 and Clubhouse, they could do it and they would give them the insurance. So this argument can be done. Otherwise, to say, well, guys, you really need to be open if you bring licensed roofers with a good price, good timing, because it needs to be timing, price, and quality on the delivery. They would need to vet these guarantees and not losing the guarantee of 20 years or whatever they are given. And I don't know if in previous projects you had this type of issue, but I didn't want to get like a funnel on the vetting process that would oblige us to work with 1, 2, or 3 that comes from a preconceived analysis that I trust 0.
Yeah, understood. So I just made a note. We were just talking about for a different project. He has a roofing engineer, one of Willie. I don't know if you all have met Willie, but Willie has a roofing engineer expert, and so he goes out and does analyses of roofs. So I think that's a great idea as far as the mansards for buildings 3 and 4. Or building one and 4 and the clubhouse.
It needs to be completely disconnected between the person that is going, cannot be any type of incentive to go more.
Agreed.
Go less whenever we can go.
Well,
less.
sure,
So
yeah,
the incentives have to be completely disconnected.
yeah, because a roofer is going to go, oh yeah, we need we need to do all of it. Sure, yeah. And that makes, I mean, it makes sense, because why would I want a job for $500,000 if I could get one for 2?
So someone needs to guard this, and that's why I was telling we cannot have the folks guarding the chickens.
Understood.
We need to have somebody who's.
Yeah, understood.
Yeah.
And that's a big part of my role. That's a big part of my role with this, is to get to a point where we've worded this thing correctly. We've divided it out the way that we want to divide it out. And as we go through the vetting process, I or one of the board members, if I can't be here, will walk the property with said contractor, because we're not going to let them come out here and bid blindly.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to come out here and look at this. There's no possibility to see the amount of stuff that's been done out here that needs to be fixed and have somebody do it from Google Earth or however they do their takeoff software. It's not fair to you, and it won't be right. So anybody who wants this project needs to come onto site, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But remember that for the mansards on 1, 4 and Clubhouse, probably this will only be known, like in this case, after the fact. So after the fact, they close 2 and 3, and then they go to 1, 4, they start to open and say, oh, termites in, termites not. And so the flood, so at the end of the day, we need to have at that point somebody that tell us with proper reports. We never got proper reports, because these reports needs to be by section and say what is the percentage of damage, etc. It needs to be clear that if we really need to replace all the mansards, we need to get it black and white. Because like you said, the incentives many times is to say, let's do everything, and at the end of the day, we pay a fortune.
And and I think that again, with the way that we decide to put this RFP together, we can have, we have to have the buildings 2 and 3, the mansards done.
Mhm.
They have to be done. They've already been screwed up, so we've got to fix it.
Mhm.
Now, the roofs on there, we've got to do. The mansards on roofs 1 and 4 and here can all be an addition. We can put that as an option, right? So we don't have to put that into the overall bid package. So if we
But
do,
I would put it with a vetting external entity that when we arrive, we don't have the roofer or somebody that is interested in increasing the.
Agreed. Yeah.
That tells you, now you go to the
yeah,
right or to the
we
left,
would
but
definitely put
still-
that language in
Okay.
there that you don't get to decide.
You don't get to decide, and then we need to get exactly
Yeah.
And
somebody
can you
that.
do something like a replace price
Yes,
or a linear foot repair price?
Yeah.
Sure.
yes.
Yeah, I don't see why not.
Yeah.
I mean, again, I would,
It'd be more work for them on the RFP, of course,
Yeah.
but you know
that
what? If-
doesn't sound too.
I'm assuming this isn't a $50,000 project, so they're gonna, they'll put a little bit of time into it if they really want a project this size. And it's a good project and it's gonna last for a little while. I mean, it's not gonna be years long, but it'll be a couple, 3 or 4 months.
So in that, really, the first element is, and what we were talking about before, ideally, there's not 5 different RFPs and
Correct.
processes. Are we all comfortable with that?
To my point, yes, but that was my concern. If we're gonna put a master, FRP for master specs, we need to understand whether we come up with 2 solutions and on the road, we don't know yet until this point. If we come up with 2 different roof systems, so how this will apply to the one FRP? So are we gonna do 2 conditions? Are we gonna?
Let me just say this, I would definitely put it, as a project manager, I would put it on the side of the bidder. Because what we're gonna say is that we have one RFP, 2 possibilities of permits, or we use the master permit to do the last to do everything, or.
And the concern about it is, imagine that we go from Duro-Last in 2 and 3, but we want to decide something that is not Duro-Last for 1, 4 and Clubhouse.
It's less expensive, but
Because it's less expensive, but it still gets
Easier to-
exactly
yeah,
the
sure.
quality, etc. So at the end of the day, I would
Yeah,
definitely
it's
put it within the RFP on the side of the bidders. And one of the things that the bidders, we need to come out for an alternative, it's obviously to say, look, if I go to the alternative, I have to work with the master permit or put a new permit, etc. It's say, look, if we go to alternative B, it's not only about price and quality and time to deliver, it's also all the legality and the city and whatever it needs to be put to go through the process, which sometimes takes time. So at the end of the day, the bidder, we need to go for that. But I would put it like an open blank for 1 and 4 in Clubhouse and leave it on the other side, that possibility of what is the permit you're going to put, how long it's going to take. We need to have SLAs, by the way, service level agreements is that beyond the day, each day that you're going to be here doing your work, you're going to pay us X. I don't know if anybody does it in Florida, because this happens in a whole part of the world. So at the end of the day, that would be like the condition we put in the RFP, but I would let the other side to tell us what are the alternatives they would come out, even to reduce the potential price that we are talking.
That's one of the ways that we can structure the RFP itself. Okay, we need an alternative for buildings 1 and 4 and the thing for the mansards. We need an alternative for buildings 1 and 4 for the roof. We know that we're going to use Duro-Last and the mansards have to be completely and totally repaired all the way around the buildings 2 and 3. That we know is set in stone, right? So that's done.
Replace.
Well, they've got to be fit. I mean, whatever's been done to them so far, it's got to be completely redone, right?
Do we know how to have a contract with the roofer?
Huh? The mansards.
The mansards are there. So-
Right.
So the
They
mansards.
don't have to be rebuilt. They just got to be reshingled and
Yes,
repaired.
yes,
Right.
We mentioned that in the last meeting. Yeah.
Can I chime in here?
We did.
I can't make that decision, but sure.
He's Alan, he's board member.
Hey Jay, we met the other week. I was there with you. How you doing? I'm sorry I cannot be there in person. So first of all, I echo everything that Zhao said. I agree 100% with his analysis, and that's what we were discussing that day exactly. To be able to use a different system in the other roofs. At the end of the day, the only thing we care about is that water is not going to come in, and that we get 20 years warranty. If it's purple, white, I really don't care. It's a roof. And I think that's everybody would agree on that. My main concern, and I voiced it the other day as well, is that we are running out of time. And this RFP is super important, but it's time consuming. So you saying here, if I'm not mistaken, you mentioned 4 to 6 weeks for the RFP to be ready, or for everybody already to have the bids in?
I can have the RFP itself ready in a week or two, ready to go. Like that's the easy part. That's the easy part, really, is putting the bid package together.
Okay.
Because we have a lot of things to share with you about, but I'm not sure, and you are the architect, but I'm not sure that we have all the technical specifications. Let me do your question, for example, the square footage of our building 4, or the square footage of Marcella's building, which is building 1. I don't know, do we have them to provide everything?
One or two weeks
Okay.
standard.
Sorry?
Yeah,
Okay.
just to put the package together. Now, getting it out, getting the people on site is another week or two. I mean, normally once you put it out, it's 2 to 3 weeks after that to get everybody on site, to get it all, to get them all to put their packages together and submit. And what we can do, and we get as many of these quality roofers as we can get, send it to them and give them a hard date. You have till Friday, April 12th. That's just a random date to send me your bid package. And on Tuesday, when I get back, I've got a thing to go to the bid anyway. So then I put it all into a bid leveling sheet. We sit down as a group and say, okay, here's what it all looked like. Here were the alternates that they gave us. Here were the things, this is what it said. And now we look at it, and more than likely we throw out the low bid. The low, because there's one that's going to be extravagantly low, and that's going to end you up like this guy.
No, this was extravagant. High price also. So
Yeah.
it was high price.
Yeah. And then there's going to be a really high price one too, and we'll throw that one out, and then we'll work with the one somewhere in the middle. And unless, unless we can get the low bidder in here and they're just young and hungry and want to do a good job, it's fine. But
together some stages, like for normal bidding, etc. Probably we're gonna do the interviews to validate, etc.
yeah, so and that's why I said I think we can probably get to a point where all things go well. Like we can probably get to a point where we're ready to hire somebody in 6 weeks.
Okay, Jay. So one of the things that I learned from the meeting with Duro-Last is that the roofers make money also from selling us the material for the roofs.
Sure.
Basically, Duro-Last gives them a wholesale price, and they pass on to us the retail price.
Yeah, absolutely.
So given your expertise, can you actually get the cost price for us, or at least know what it is? So when we evaluate those bids, we know exactly where they're making their profits.
Yeah, every contractor that I've ever worked with, whether it was painting, stucco, roofing, concrete, they all put somewhere between 10 and 15% upcharge on material. It's standard. And then, they charge extra on, so if they're paying a guy $25 an hour for his roofing expertise, they're charging us 45 or 50 for him. If they're paying a guy $30 an hour for a supervisor,
that's understandable. That's understandable.
Right.
That's part of the business, of course.
But I can do what I can to find out what Duro-Last cost, but each contractor, depending on the amount of volume that they do, usually gets a little different price here or there
Mhm.
based on, if it's a smaller company that doesn't do as much, they probably don't, they probably get charged more money by roofing supply company than a company that's doing that's large and doing 15, 20 roofs a month, right? Just because of the volume of material that they're buying. So I could probably get you close, but I don't know that I could get it. I don't know that I could get it down to the penny, if that makes sense.
Got it. Yeah, no, that's okay. I mean, and it's fine if they make money on the material as well, but you know,
Yeah, and they're going to, regardless of whether we know how much they pay for it, they're going to charge us for it.
Yeah.
And
But it's good to negotiate.
yeah, if we can, hey, we got $100,000 worth of Duro-Last out here. What does that look like for you? We want them to use that, but to Zhao's point, we've got to make sure that Duro-Last will give them the same consideration they did if they just bought it off the shelf from them tomorrow.
yeah, and what Duro-Last said, at least in the meeting, if that's okay to share with everybody, real quick, is that basically the warranty that they give starts 6 months after the material was delivered. So basically, roof 2 and 3 will not get 20 years. They are right now already at, if I'm not mistaken, 18 and a half.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So that's how it works. So basically, the warranty on roofs 2 and 3 will be, right now it's standing at 18 and a half years.
Okay.
Okay.
On the timeline, so if our RFP starts on Monday and you give them 2 weeks for their RFP work, their final RFP is due on April 8th. If we do another 2 weeks, we're already at April 22nd for the bids due, and 2 weeks is tight for them to turn around.
Right.
If someone maybe who knows our community, maybe they could that conditions way, but I suspect we might want to do 3 weeks for the bid, and then we get into the end of April at that point.
Yeah.
We're really not even getting into permitting or anything until May. I'm starting to get concerned, hurricane season, rains, we're dying by 1,000 paper cuts with these $5,500 bills every time it rains, this house gets wet. So is there a way to do this as quickly as possible? To Alan's point, what's the most efficient way?
I don't know that it gets any less efficient than that.
So
Unfortunately. Now, one of the things that's possible is, we can probably, I mean, I could get a couple guys that I know that are roofers out here and say, what are you going to charge to fix these mansards and fix them now perfectly? And then we do that, and then that at least gets the buildings buttoned up, right?
But we need to give time to Absolute Pro to tell us something about the shingles. We have more than $20,000 that we bought
Okay.
shingles.
Right.
at the
So
end of the day-
Yeah, but Zhao, yes, but honestly, at this point, if we need to order again the same shingles, it makes no difference, because when eventually we get those shingles, we're gonna use them for the other roofs. It's the same shingles. So the priority should be closing mansards 2 and 3 as fast as
Right.
possible, and regardless if Absolute Pro, when they're gonna give us the shingles, or they're not gonna give us the shingles. I mean, we need to continue like we're not having the shingles, and we need to reorder it, and then whenever we get the other ones, we'll store them somewhere, or and use them for the next roof. That's the way we should approach it, in my opinion.
So really there's two options in this. One is a temporary covering of the mansards that stops rain from getting in, that the prior engineer or prior contractor said they were doing, but it was never effective. Second one, there's actually three. Temporary covering, whatever that is, better than what was ever done in the past. 2 is separate out mansards on 2 and 3 and just knock those out. Or 3, stay with one RFP for the whole project.
So so we discussed exactly, Robert. That's exactly the point. And what I would suggest, and Jay, maybe you can elaborate on that, is getting a roofer that knows also Duro-Last, the work with Duro-Last, that is professional, that is ready to go, that would be one of the bidders for the whole RFP, and give them to do the mansards 2 and 3. And once they close the mansard, if they did it on time, a good job, let them do also the roofs 2 and 3, while let them do roof 2 and 3 regardless of the RFP. So like you mentioned before, there's no blame game.
Right.
There's no blame game if suddenly say, no, that's because the mansard was not finished like that. So there's no, so we have, I think we all agree that at least every roof needs to be done by the same roofer, mansard and flat roof. So the idea of because speed right now is, in my opinion, the most important thing, is closing those mansards with a good roofer, let them do the flat roofs, and in the meantime, we're already getting all the analysis of the RFPs, and we either award it to that roofer to continue with the rest of the roofs, or we continue with another roofer for the rest of the roofs, and that should not affect anything regardless of regarding warranty and service.
So let me ask you a quick question, and this just dawned on me while I was sitting here thinking about this. We have a contract that was being used from the last roofer. Is that true?
Yes.
Like, we know that on building 2, he was going to charge us X number of dollars for the mansards and X number of dollars for the flat roof, correct? So if I could get somebody here in the next couple of weeks that would be willing to do it at that price, is that something that you would be willing to entertain?
Not just anybody.
No, I got you. I'm not saying like I'm just going to go to Home Depot.
Let me go 2 steps back. If we have an RFP, properly have the right people on the roofs, quality, time and price. What is the game we are talking about here? Because even if we have like 2 or 3 weeks somebody repairing, we are gaining 1 or 2 weeks compared with having, like you said in the beginning, it's better to have an end-to-end process that people are responsible. And so we don't have somebody that did the covering of the mansard, and then somebody arrives here and said, I cannot work with this, so I need to redo this to cut. So we are talking about the 1 or 2 weeks to do it properly end to end. Your questions from Diana is very relevant but that will not prevent us from the rainy season. So the only thing we would do is like almost a parallel. So what I would say is that, why don't we do a proper one bidding? We are only losing here for the mansards, for the covering of the mansards, 1 or 2 weeks. We have been speeding up in everything, but we do it properly. And then we have a responsible entity that is evaluated in every stage. So if they stop at 2 and 3, we have the right to say, go out because you did a bad job, or continue because you're great. So they have an incentive to continue. Then they go to building whatever, 401, they do the good job, you go to the last one. The only thing they can screw up probably is the clubhouse, because there's no more business after the clubhouse. So what are we gaining on these 2 weeks? I would always vote to have.
Now it's more than 2 weeks. It's much more than 2 weeks. On paper, it's 2 weeks, but here, and let me do the simple math here. It's going to take Jay at least a week to get it ready out for bidding. And he's saying that it's going to take 2 weeks for the roofers to come back. I realistically, Jay, I'm sorry, but experience taught me that it's not going to take 2 weeks. It's going to take more than that. And it's going to take more than that for us to decide on such a big decision. So we're looking at much more. So I think that the idea that Jay proposed here of having a good, reputable roofer just to take over the same exact contract we already have in place and close the shingles, close the mansards, work on the roof while we are, and that will give us also more time to do a good bid for all the rest of the roofs. I mean, I see it honestly as the best option, because the damage that can be caused from extending it another month extra is just, it can be catastrophic in my opinion.
I understand, but my only point is, if we wanna get somebody just to fix the masters in 2 weeks, we need to just say, okay, it's gonna be Alfredo. And so we're not gonna do any competition, we're not gonna have several people, because if we wanna do it close to a bidding process, it's gonna take more than two. So what I'm saying is that, why not do it properly entirely? Because it's probably not only the 4 to 6 weeks that are realistic, it's absolutely realistic. If we want to do it minimum properly, that we're gonna have somebody in 2 weeks doing this. Because,
Here's what I would say, and I see both sides, but what I think we could do is, and I like the idea, and in my mind, it's always been one contractor wins, one roofer wins the whole project, we phase it out, certain protections, et cetera, et cetera. But we can bring in a different company to temporarily seal in some shape or form, independent of the bidding process.
But that's very expensive. Robert, you're adding here an added cost. Imagine, we are evaluating Jay. Jay has a cost. Okay, Jay is not doing Jay is not going to do this for free. Then adding a roofer just to come. So if that's the case, just bring a roofer to at least put the shingles and have it sealed, because putting shingles is not rocket science.
Right now, we have several episodes of rain. Right now, we have several episodes of rain without water intrusion.
Okay.
I consider that a miracle, but the truth is.
We were in your place
Yeah.
the other day, right?
Yeah.
And it's rained since then.
Yes, it rained 2 nights ago, for example.
Correct, but my neighbors would get, the second rain, get water. It's property.
Okay.
So-
one didn't find it. So it's kind of random. It depends on the volume, it depends on the speed.
Probably the direction of where it's blowing. Yeah.
It's very, very.
Okay.
I'm not saying it's ideal. I'm not seeing a huge gain between spending a ton of money now just to do something on the masters. And I know there's a risk associated, but I would be expecting, for example, NV5, not you, but somebody that is knowledgeable in NV5 to see, okay, how this is secure, because we're not going to have, I hope, American in the next 3 or 4 weeks. So, and yet, so at the end of the day, they would tell us what plastics we need to put there or homes, etc. But I would not go for something expensive.
No,
And meanwhile, the gains of doing something one and then going to the phase 2, I see, like you said in the beginning, jumping from one contract to another and having entertaining one small bid process and a big bid process, too much work to handle in the next 4 to 6 weeks. I would focus all our efforts, and we've been fast on doing it and providing you all the information needed, all the measures, all the square foot. So we have, in fact, in 1 week, the bidding. We ask then the bidders to be like 2 weeks, not 1 week, probably. And then we do an evaluation with interviews, etc. And we do a compromise that we're going to be like probably working almost full time, but we've been working almost full time to Leeward Point the last 3 months to get this done. Because that moment when you do the education with the attorneys we have right now, and say, look, these guys have a license, these guys have insurance, these guys have all the conditions of the contract. That moment, this board will say, okay, now we're going to evaluate the next stage when they close roofs 2 and 3, and we say yes or no. Then when they finish the other building, and it will be a smooth process. So I would always bet on having a hell of a month to get it done than to have a lot of things in there. That would be always my recommendation. And it's very according to what you said, which is having several people in the building.
It's a pain in the ass, for sure.
Okay, so
I agree with you.
Yeah.
I do. I threw out my fear for y'all is water intrusion.
Yeah.
Regardless, I mean, that's it. As soon as we can get those buildings sealed up for your protection and your property's protection, the best, the better, right? So my biggest concern is that. Now, if it, to your point, is 2 weeks really gonna make a humongous difference? We don't know, right? Because I can't predict the weather. I can't predict, it may not rain until June and we may be good to go.
probably a
But-
2 hours visit of a technical person from NV5 might tell us, okay, we could reinforce this and this, but nothing, something very structural to get us.
no, that's what I mean
Oh,
on the temporary.
it's not. once again.
No, we can't just ignore it for a month and a half, is my point. The
And
tape
that-
comes loose, whatever.
And that was my thought too, like, it's so unfortunate that you had such a horrible experience with this contractor and they left you in such a bad state that now we've got to jump through hoops for you all to try to protect yourselves. Right? So what I don't want you to do is spend money you don't have to spend.
Don't tell.
Because you don't, right? Because because money's always tight. Money's always an issue and it always should be. And-
So about where's the carrier's position on this? You have insurance, so why have you gotten a?
Carriers have denied the claims.
So then individually, each unit can just hire a public adjuster and file suit.
People have done that in their insurance. They hired, unfortunately, the HOA previously hired.
And the attorney with the PA that works with the PA that needs to begin litigation.
We're litigating against an unlicensed contract. Either way, we have to. resolve
Is it
the
an
problem.
unlicensed?
Yes, they're unlicensed.
How did that happen?
Well, other.
That's a $2.5 million question.
Unlicensed.
Yeah, I didn't say the law.
I wasn't here for the entire last meeting.
Yeah, but we already said it's the law.
Okay, excuse me, I listened.
More or less right, it needs to be action oriented for this. So if we start the RFP on Monday, can we have something by the April 1st, 10 days, today's the 20th?
To be put out.
Yeah, I don't see why.
I mean, and again, so. And that goes back into a different discussion, which is about the cost of MV5, right? Because we're not free and it's unfortunate we're not, but I would love to be able to do a lot of this stuff pro bono because this is the stuff that means stuff to people, right? Like their houses are getting rained in. Yeah, right. So, but what we have done, the way we structured our proposal, that I think it was $15,000 for 4 to 6 weeks, not to exceed. So, and the reason that we did that is because we thought that like we're talking about, this is going to be very time intensive upfront. And so it doesn't mean that it's going to be 15,000, but it means that it could be, but we won't exceed it.
Are you doing it with lawyers? It's based on hours?
Yeah. Yeah. So, and I don't remember it right off the top of my head, but I think it's like $160 an hour for us. And so I budgeted when we talked about this somewhere around 10 to 12 per week.
Right, between now and April 1st, starting next Monday.
Yeah, give or take. And again, I'd have to go back in and look at the math again, but
It's not even being pushy, it's just trying to get to your point and our out, because the longest thing is and we have to call people and try to find good partners. I'm sure you'll do the same, and recommend some great folks, the people here will recommend some great folks. That takes some time, right?
sure.
Yeah.
Isn't it safer to do a flat rate with MVP versus doing an hourly? I'm just saying.
Well, that's why we put it in as a not to that's why we put it in as a not to exceed.
Okay, that's good.
That, that way it's, once we get to that, then we have a different discussion, but yeah. Yeah. And
Jay, that
Sure.
is the price. I'm sorry. That is the price only for you to put
The
together
RFP process.
RFP?
Just for the RFP
process.
process. And after that, I think it was like $4,000 a month or something like that. I would have to relook at it and pull it up. And that was for 10 hours a month or something like
And
that.
that's not important right now.
Yeah. No.
And so
Okay.
really the element that we have is
The actual project management.
Oh,
for the contract, keeping it on,
Instead of Robert or
Right.
any one of you. doing it. That was.
So-
So,
A monthly invoice of $4,000 for about 6 months.
yeah.
Less than 6 months.
Yeah, so
6 months.
what we estimated was approximately 15 hours for 6 weeks. And that came out to the 15. And then after that, for the phase 2, which was the project management, was 4,000 a month for approximately 6 months. And that was just based on that time that I spend will be like maybe one day a week out here taking pictures, putting a report together for you all. Talking to the contractor, okay, how's the schedule look? How's the budget look? Where are we short? Why are we short? How does this work? And that way weekly, I can keep you involved as the board and as the residents involved. Like, hey, we're doing great. We're 2 or 3 weeks ahead of schedule. We're ahead of budget. It's awesome. Or the opposite of that happens too, where we get a bunch of rain, they can't work. Now we're 2 weeks behind schedule, that kind of stuff. But I also help you manage that part of it. And then when they send in their pay applications, I review it and go, okay, they said they put on 600 shingles. They put on 600 shingles. So we can, not yet. And that was a lot of the reason why I'm here tonight is for you all to become more comfortable with me. And to understand that there is value in having me here. But at the same time to answer some of the questions. And even if you chose not to use MV5, after this meeting, still maybe when I leave here, you all have a little better understanding of what an RFP process, if you didn't before, what should look like going forward. So.
Do you ever work on projects involving balconies?
Actually, I was just on a balcony project today.
Great, maybe you can give them advice.
Depends on what it is, but sure.
So what for the agenda?
Yeah.
Sorry.
You
want to kick me out and I'm good.
No, I think where the
I'm hungry.
board needs to decide is really finalize the philosophical structure of the RFP. And for us as board, are we comfortable? And this isn't the decision here now, just sort of providing greater clarity. Are we comfortable if there was a single RFP phased into different sections on mansards and roofs and buildings and all that, but in the meantime, temporarily secure 2 and 3.
Yeah,
Fundamentally, there's a lot into that, but Alan?
Yeah, I agree. I agree on that. And specifically because, I mean, if we know that there's a reputable roofer that, maybe NV5 had experience working with, that, can take over that contract and just finish the work, because we already have the material. It's not like, we need to, check on materials. I mean, we already have everything ready to go. We just need to get going. So yeah, I agree with that process. And I agree with Zhao also. I mean, obviously the best way to go about it is to do one thing, the whole process perfectly. But my experience showed me that, on paper it sounds good. On reality, most of the time it goes the other way around. I mean, I would love it I would love, for Zhao to be 100% correct on that and have a process like that. And I would love it. If Jay feel comfortable with that and everybody else feel comfortable with that, I'm good with that as well.
Yeah. And when you said 10 days, did you mean 10 days from today or 10 days from Monday?
I guess 10 days from today, right?
So April 1st would be what, the following 2 Mondays?
Yeah.
2 Mondays from now. Yeah, I really think, as long as I can get some information, and I've gotten a bunch of it from you all over the last couple of days, that I can have it to you, at least have something available to be looked at by the end of next week. I think I could do that rather easily, and then we can structure it out and say, maybe we have one more meeting for an hour at the beginning of the following week. We verify everything that we want that's in there. And then from that meeting, I can hit send while we're sitting together to the 4 or 5 different contractors that we've come up with over the course of the next week.
You guys can align with your close ending process.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. And if they don't show up by Friday, whatever,
Disqualified.
April 12th, Too bad, so sad.
Yeah, the only danger is if we only get one or two bids out of that. But
Agreed,
we
agreed.
cross that
But
bridge.
I think I have at least a couple of people that I can get bids from, just from people that I know. So.
Okay.
And I go back to we want to be careful in that because that's partly how we got here.
No,
So that we're a little allergic to I know a guy. But I also agree on the principle. I forgot who said that. Maybe it was you, Alan, that we can't wait for the prior contractor to give us the shingles. If we need to get new shingles, we get new shingles. And if and when we get the shingles from the old contractor, that goes to the other buildings.
I'm not saying to wait. We need, I understand.
just an answer or
An answer, like, but it was like just saying that we work on parallels.
Yeah.
I mean, you can send it out today and if they don't get to you by next Friday.
On Friday,
Then
our
you wait.
time is time tomorrow between those two things.
Yeah. You owe-
It sounds to me like we need to vote on this, Robert.
Okay, well then, you don't want me here.
If we're,
The only
No.
question that I would like to ask to Jay is, for the process of the contractual qualifications and for the FRP, I really would like to encourage to think about the insurance bond, because for me, it's very important, materials and labor insurance and also performance insurance, which are going to protect us for materials like what we're having right now, missing, and also in what the contractor quick or left the side, so the whole job is gonna be completed no matter what, and we're gonna have the money. So for me, it's a lesson learned, and I really want to encourage. I know it's a little bit more expensive, but this is gonna be in the meantime of the process.
Binary, which is, I asked you to do a proposal, put the insurance bond and the service insurance.
Well, this is on the process of,
Decide.
well, this is on the process of the contract qualification, because you know, you can take the bonds out, you can do the proper.
Let us then as board and as owners, look at the proposals and then see if it's extremely expensive, if we want to go there or not. So people might say.
They'll put their BOD rate on there. So on the RFP, well, we can ask them to, what is your BOD rate?
I just wanted to propose it because for that is a cover.
Smart.
Well. and here's
We're
the-
actually learning the lessons, and we don't want to repeat it, no matter what, because
Saying is yes, and what I'm saying is
the
yes.
insurance the insurance only covers the
What I'm saying is yes.
Spray that works out. with the- On the back, so to speak.
So we cannot do it as a.
Jay, thank you for coming in. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Alan, in terms of the vote, we don't need to vote on that. I'll just send an email around to the board and we'll just email approve that this is because we're doing the process element of the RFP. And then we just circle that through the email.
Okay,
We're voting on a process of the RFP. Right. Okay. Then yeah, in that aspect.
Who's putting the motion?
I think there are two motions. One is if we're gonna
Hire.
and the second motion is if we're gonna hire or not. Is that just for-
I did not hear anything.
Are you logged in on yours?
No. I was
Yeah,
saying-
Zhao, if you can, because you know, okay.
There are two motions to be done. One is the motion to how we're gonna do the RFP, if we are all agreeing with what Robert said. And the second one is if we are gonna hire or not NV5 to support us. So I can do the first one. I support exactly what Robert said. Let's try minimum security on the masters. Not going.
Well, the FRP needs to actually be moved on, it needs to be.
Yeah, yes, but for the first one is to say, look, we're gonna have a single RFP.
But that's
Back
the
with-
modality of the FRP that we are going to craft. First, what we need to actually move on is on the approval of if we're going to initiate an FRP process. Is that correct?
No, No.
And
This we're gonna do. The
I
only
mean,
thing is, are we gonna do
tech-
free RFPs?
Technically, yes, we need to say we initiate an RFP process.
Okay, so
The-
I'll do a motion to initiate an RFP
Second.
process. Anybody again?
Okay.
Okay,
So
the
we're good
second
on
one
that.
is, can we do a single RFP with an intervention in the beginning to maximize, not minimize the security, but without extrapolating costs? So we need to be very careful what we're gonna do. Sorry?
Let me interfere onto your.
Yeah.
Motion. By saying the first approval, are we approving the,
Not yet.
okay.
That will be the third motion, but if you want, we put the second motion first.
But the
But,
other-
yeah.
Okay, so the.
But let's
other-
put the second one in terms of how we're gonna handle it. It's gonna be 3 RFPs, 2 RFPs, or 1 RFP with conditions to move ahead with a small intervention in the beginning to guarantee that we maximize the security on the work. And I do the motion to 1 RFP. We speed it up the most to try to live with the 10 days that we were talking, but asking NV5 to come here to accommodate whatever to maximize the security within this period until we start to have a new roofer or a roofer on the roofs.
I think it's hard to make that decision without knowing the cost of that little fix that you mentioned to, temporary, close buildings 2 and 3 in a better way.
But Alan, we need to move with RFP. And what I was thinking is that if we don't start tomorrow to download everything to this guy to have the RFP by the end of next week, and we are still contemplating other options, then we're gonna take more time. So we really need that one. I think it's, and once again, if NV5 arrives here and said, just to put new plastics, it will cost us $20 or $30 or $40,000, probably we're gonna say no.
Okay.
And then we
All
make
right.
a trade-off to understand if a new flooding would cost us compared with this. Is that?
So we're moving for the approval of the FRP, the approval of the group of MB5 as a project management, and also approval for the modality, how we're going to approach to the FRP.
Yes, because I think if we don't do
Okay,
it
yeah.
today, we need to be all focused in one path to make this
No, no, no.
successful. If we don't leave this meeting focused, then we are gonna jeopardize the 4 to 6 weeks.
Okay, and
That is
that's
one
gonna
of
be exactly what you guys already rated, that we're gonna conceal the building 2 and building 3, and then we're gonna go with the standard process that is going
The
to.
cons-
For the whole community.
the conceal once again, and addressing the point of Alan, which is a great point. Imagine that NV5 arrives here and say to conceal building 2 and 3 costs you $50,000. Okay, so that is the motion.
Second,
Anybody again?
in favor, Alan?
Alan?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with doing one process, like you said, and
Okay.
evaluating the cost.
Yeah, and we're gonna,
Okay, good.
and then we can contact NV5 to come here tomorrow or Friday just to realize how we can minimize the water intrusion in 2 and 3. And if they go wild on the pricing, then we need to evaluate for water intrusion would cost us more or less. Obviously, we cannot just evaluate financial because there's also a burden for people that have their water intrusion in their houses. But okay, and the third one is
Hiring.
I do a motion to hire.
Yeah, I agree. I second.
Okay.
My
Okay.
one point with hiring them obviously is we have to use every single hour that we're paying for those $15,000. And not leave any hours on the table, right? So obviously for this RFP process, 100% you're gonna use them, but then obviously somebody needs to keep tabs on the hours we're using.
They need to audit.
Just get a perspective.
And to that point, what you both said, there's some issues with the engineer who was here before in terms of was there really those hours done and et cetera, et cetera. So
Yeah.
that's a good point.
Having a board member with them, I guess.
Yeah.
We have requested by writing, for example, for the existing engineer, they will not file them at the time and the files. They generally have the invoice of $5,000. We're now talking with the attorney to understand how we're gonna deal with these other companies.
Right, because obviously we don't want to pay $15,000 to just get an RFP, because
Yes.
RFP should be done for $2,000, like that's a dramatic cost. But I get it that more is happening in that month.
Well, let me also, estimate that we are in a time frame which is really, really.
Yeah.
hard. And to prepare that, you need to consider the rush. Because of-
So why don't you hire him to do the balconies as well? Because you're gonna have to bring along the coach.
They're doing structural and electrical, right? Yeah.
Breaking moves.
Approval, I'm gonna fly through a couple things. Alfredo sent the minutes to us, earlier. I motion to approve.
Second,
A second. Agree.
Treasurer's report.
I'm trying to go as fast as I can, so I'm gonna send to the property manager.
Put it closer to him, please.
Okay. I'm gonna send again an email to the property manager, so Tiffany, to validate the status of the check of $25 that I still don't see in Valley Bank, and the unit owner's maintenance fees paid in advance. Now we are talking about the 24. We already got until the end of the story of 27, but we still need the final 27 maintenance payments. Once again, property manager was incorrect by saying there was 2 payments in arrears. It's going to be 1 or 0. The second point will be requested is provide all bank statements and bank account numbers from the beginning of 2021 until today. Remember, we need to do a review on an audit on 2022 and close it. And so we need all the bank accounts to do the reconciliation. And unfortunately, we have to go back to 2021 to understand the evolution. All of these bank accounts and account numbers should be in the possession of Primex. We've been asking for this for long. Now, the first thing that is going to be asked to the property manager right now, they need to explain there was a sign-off special assessment bank account appearing now in March 2024 with a balance of 14.78. We've been told that the only accounts we have right now is Valley Bank, and now we have this 14.78 on sign-off special assessment bank. I don't know why the signatures of this account. I don't know if this account does exist, so we need an explanation for that. And then also explain the following invoices that were seen as paid, which is an unpermitted back path view addition in unit 2753 for $5,000, an unpermitted back path view additions unit 16503 with 2.5. The most problematic is obviously the 5,000 on the unit 2753, because this means that both the unit and the association paid to the previous contractor the $5,000 for exactly the same work. Checks provided to and received from Primex Management. So it was provided to Primex Management this check of $2541 from Alfredo Suarez. This was money that he received in cash for a replacement of a broken key that was paid directly in cash to the BOD secretary. And then he passed the check and gave it to Primex. And it was also provided to Primex Management a check of $167.08 US from Marcella Britt, Unit 10, related with the monthly special assessment. We have the record from Primex saying they have received these checks. And we received from Primex Management a check from $4,400 to be given to the secretary, already give them, regarding the trimming service that were paid. This was 8 trees, $50 each, and we have the receipt for that. And then assess all unit status. So the maintenance fees, we don't have Primex, so I will have to email them tomorrow. We need to understand if the penalty fees were starting to be applied to the free delinquent accounts that 1 month ago, after the 10th of February, they were notified that were already in arrears. We are now following a concrete process. After 1 month, we decided on the 10th of April, continue with this process and start to apply the regulatory penalties. And status of the remaining delinquent accounts, owners' communication and status. We also decided to follow exactly the same process to all the others' accounts, notifying these people they are in arrears. So one after month, so it's going to be the 10th of April, we start exactly the same type of penalties after doing the communication. In terms of special assessment, there will be also the communication to the Primex that didn't want to be present in this meeting. Current payment status, monthly, partial, and total. It's been quite hard to get exact numbers for who has already paid in total, partially, or monthly. And this will give us also the current delinquent status. This is very important, especially in the beginning of the special assessment, because many people are still being informed of the special assessment. They have not seen the letters and they are not participating in the meeting. decide next steps accordingly to this report. And also, we're gonna request again to Primex that all the additional money that has been paid besides the monthly fee needs to be transferred from the special assessment account directly to the credit, meaning we're gonna write off part of this credit by paying some of the unit owners that paid in full. We have at least 4 to 5, if not 6, that already paid in full. All the differences need to go for paying the loan. If not, we start to have an account, a deposit account that is not getting interest, and the loan charging us an interest of 3.5. Now, Leeward Point 2024 budget communication and meeting scheduling. So I do a motion to approve the email that was sent by Tiffany. The only thing I do in my motion is we need to change the date. It cannot be on the 3rd of April because we need to give 2 weeks. It needs to be on the 10th of April because that would mean that they would be able to send the communication today, and they are not. So she has sent, but we have not answered as a board. So I'm doing the motion. I don't know if you read the documents, to approve those documents with the only change on the budget.
Yeah, and
Yes.
reserves and all that.
All the
Yes.
reserves, etc. The only thing we need to do is communicate to Primex. It cannot be on the 3rd of April. It needs to be on the 10th. And then I have a question for the board. We have said that we're going to recommend not to approve additional reserves for 2024, but I don't see anything on the documents. But I don't know if it's normal practice or not to recommend to the owners. I'm just trying to prevent that we approve as owners, because it's going to be the unit owners to decide special reserves, just to get the notion.
It's a tradition.
Yeah, I know it's a tradition, but at the end of the day, that would mean $1,000 more per unit per month, and if we would approve that. So I don't know if we should make any type of disclosure or recommendation to not approve, or we just leave the.
I don't think we should
We
steer
should.
that one way or another. Just
Okay.
present the facts. Here's
And
what
then
it
the
would
vote.
be, what it with
Perfect.
and without.
So then I do a motion to approve the documentation, only changing from the 3rd of April to the 10th of April.
Second.
Anybody against?
Yeah, I approve.
Okay, perfect. Now, additional decisions that have been taken until now. So we paid Virtual AC Solutions to fix that in this AC for $160. We did the tree trimming, that was an insurance request for $400. We paid Becker, or we already signed the Becker last invoices, and we sent these $5,706.28 for the services on December and November, and a little thing on January. A Becker request, which means that we're going to get access to the emails that were changed by, or we hope we're going to get between the boards, the previous boards, and Becker in the value of $450. Primex Management, Eber, Paris, e-filing. This is our Gardner 44.7. And the new attorney's charging is $2.856, less than $40,000.25 to turn around all of this mess. Okay, so to discuss and decide on March 20 BOD meeting, proposed to pay NV5 the invoice of $3,613.6. It was the first invoice they sent us for all the service they are providing. This was the service provided until since February 9th. So I do the motion. By the way,
Second.
perfect. Anybody against? Nope. So we approve.
Okay.
Then proposed to approve. So once again, there was a check that was lost. So we paid Dynatech $1,200 about the asbestos testing. This was free tests done in 3 different houses, 400 each one. We sent the check long time ago. The check was lost. So we need now to block the check and send a new check. Valley Bank was contacted, and this will cost us $36, which is above the 25 threshold that we defined in the last meeting. I do a motion to approve the $36 and then to send a new check. Do I get your agreement or second?
Second.
Perfect. Anybody against? Thank you. Now, status of the 911 restoration, though I know you already told me, but please, just for the sake of transparency.
Sake of transparency, called them and spoke with them again. Now, were we at Wednesday? That was Monday. That was probably the 3rd time I've spoken with them. I said, we are ready and willing to pay. We're just waiting to hear your decision. And they said, we don't have a decision yet, so please be patient.
And then status of Comcast contract, cancellation and replacement by phone internet service.
I received the DocuSign, I signed that, send that back. I need to get into the office to get the router.
Perfect. Status of ACG engineering invoices of 4,960 for January service and 4,780, which once again, I will tell the meeting that is absolutely outrageous.
Lawyer said to delay until after this week.
Perfect. And then approved budget or this is already, so.
Turn it over.
And by the way, I just received from Alfredo a good news. So we received from RSC Insurance Brokerage, and please don't ask me why, because I just received this now, but we received $367.51 that I will provide to Primex, but this is a check, it's not something for us to pay, which is good news, and this will be obviously in the minutes, and we're gonna give this check to Primex. And that is all. We're still waiting to decide on the workshop to review service results. Once again, we have an NPS of -33, which is a deplorable NPS. Because the question is, would you recommend your friends and family to live in Leeward Point? And right now, people would not recommend friends and family to live in Leeward Point. That is what it means, the -33. We have a
Joe, can I ask you a question real quick? You mentioned that there's a new bank account that popped up.
Yep.
Which bank is that?
Sign Novos.
Then, yeah, it sounds familiar. I remember that we used to be with that bank.
Yeah. Also, we have provided an email to Primex because in the changes or adjustments that were done for 2022, it appears 6 accounts on 2022 of Sinovos. And until now, the only account we received from Primex is an United Bank account related with painting. And they have been not mentioning anything about these accounts, and we've been requesting them.
So on that account, can we see who was the last one that withdraw, or what was the last balance?
So
what happened before the $46?
We don't know. So right now, that's why we are asking for the statements and the account, and we have no more information about the 6 accounts that were closed on 2022 and a Marable, the Sinova Special Assessment Bank account that appears on March, which doesn't appear on 31 of December of 2023. So just appearing this first quarter, we're just asking for clarification from Primex management, but do wait for news, because if they don't provide us the bank statements, we will need to have a strategy to get access to the bank statements, and we are already working on that strategy. But obviously we should have, as 41 people representation, we should have all the statements regarding previous connections with banks.
Financial activities.
Yes.
First of all, amazing report, and thank you very much for the amazing service that you're providing to our community. And I want everybody to know and hear that this is the first time in the 8 years that I live here that we have a treasurer, a real treasurer that is really dedicating so much time and transparency to this community. So
thank you so much for your words, Alan. Thank you. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. You also talked about status of budget meeting, check. Fort Dallas Truss Company lien. Lawyers are looking into that. There's no real new news on that, but what's that?
There is one that we had a lien on 2023.
Oh, yeah. And yeah, I saw that. I found that email, what was that, today or yesterday, and forwarded that. And, apparently there was a lien to someone's individual house, not to the association. And that was.
by the way, the same address they put also at the beginning, at the beginning of the first thing, they use that address as the address for everything.
It's very strange how that is coming about. I'll fly through 7 because we talked about that last week, but primarily, mostly, as we talked with Jay and NV5 in a broader organization. And Alfredo brought in a Duro-Last company to review this material, where we talked with them. He was very cautious to say not Alfredo, the guy from Duro-Last was very cautious to say anything definitive. Yeah, Chris, he was very cautious to be saying that he shouldn't even be talking to us because there needs to be a contractor in between us, which, okay. But
And he brought the
yeah, contractor without us knowing, but I think even then it allowed the conversation to happen. So, okay.
This contractor was here putting a proposal for the rest of the building. This is my understanding.
Yeah. And so Alfredo, Alan, that contractor, and I walked around. Chris from Duro-Last made some calls. We reconnected with him and he tentatively said, again, not definitively. Also, I will not put this directly in writing to you, but it appears as if most of the materials will be able to be used. The accessories, the glue will not be able to be used. Those will need to be replaced. But the big things, these styrofoam things, the
cementation board, the foams, and the PVC will be able to
The salvage, cost wise, what percentage do we have to put?
let's say it's like a less than 1% because it's only accessories.
So not a significant amount.
No, and the city.
don't think so.
For now,
They,
Warrant.
yeah, which is that, it was delivered December 2022. So,
Or 6 months.
6 months from that. I hope it's not the case, like a piece on your microwave breaks and you go and you want to buy that piece for the microwave and it's more expensive than just buying a new microwave. I don't think that's the case, but you never know with accessories, and that type of thing, but I don't think it's going to be the major expense. So the big things are the big materials that should last. And I think they also realized quickly that, it would have been in their short-term interest to say it's all no good and that we have to procure new materials. But I think through some of the strategies that we carried out, individual members, through that, they realized that we are not married to Duro-Last. And I think part of that played into the aspect of we can make this work. On 2 and 3, yes, personally, I would say so, but still provide a different alternative because now that we know that this is usable, to go out, unless the delta between a new product is greater than what we invested in this product.
Because I think you guys have talked about some contractors that recommend this for our specific usage. You're not supposed to walk on this, which is great for our situation. We have air conditioners on our roof. So that might be a downside. So to your point, I think you had said this earlier, maybe have them list, okay, you Duro-Last will be this, but here are my cons of doing that.
Yes.
This is the other, this is the other. Okay, cool, thank you guys.
So that's that. Updates on engineers report.
I think this has to do with the drywalls, everything. I don't know if they have a timing to deliver that because.
That's coming up. That should be coming up soon. I don't have exact date. Do you, Alfredo? On Miletus?
the 50 years.
No,
The drywall.
Drywall.
They haven't disclosed.
But not only the drywalls of the flooding of 2 and 3, but we also need to address this unit here, the Alberto's unit that also had a flooding, and we need to do something about it.
Yeah, but we purposefully kept that separate from the,
But are they doing anything or we, no, no.
drywall, yes. Is there the roof element?
Oh, to secure that will not. happen
Yeah,
again.
I don't know about
Give
that.
us a perspective on that.
I don't, well. No, so, and I can't say this in detail, so I won't, but that's separate.
Okay.
Alfredo, 50-year recertification.
Well, as to this point, I don't have any update from the ladies. The electrical crew came last week and they checked all the electrical panels. And they say that they will stop by, I believe it was between this week and next week, one night to check on the illumination because they need to actually do the photometrics. And there is a test, which is a new test required by the city, which is the thermographic, which what they do is they like try and test the amount of heat wave that the panels are actually doing at night when all the lights are on. So it's like a new test that the city is required, and they have like 2 companies that they can provide that service, but this service is additional. So she is in the process of giving me that information. Probably.
And that's required for the.
It's required for the.
We are still in time, correct? Go with the time.
It's somewhere in April.
It's April 2, yeah, but yes, we still receive it.
Is it real?
Yeah, it's
You good on that? Okay. The flock camera update. So that is installed. That is over by the trash room. I had sent an email to the board last week, end of last week, somewhere, I forget which day, where Flock turned around or basically wrote to us, because the question has been, does there need to be a permit to connect it to electrical? And what's that? Yeah, no, go ahead. I'm just talking.
So this is my finding today. I spoke with the customer service representative, and they told me that the contract was, well, we look at the contract, and the contract was signed on March 17 last year. So my question to them was why the installation wasn't, take this long. The installation of the pole was done the December 14, the end of the last year, 2023. So that was part of my concern. I didn't know exactly when the contract will start getting into effect. They were saying to the installation of the equipment, and they say that they need to reassess, because at this point they wasn't on the understanding that the camera was installed on the 12/14. So one of the crew that was working there checked on I don't know if it was pictures or side report, and they find out that the camera took so long from the time of the signing contract to the installation. So they didn't know exactly why this situation was happening. So my question was, well, we are losing 1 year of the contract and we already paid $27.50. So they were looking into that. And I'm sorry?
No, go ahead, but I have all the answers to what you just said.
Yeah. So they say that they are going to look on the on the situation based on the last installation of the camera, which was December 14, and then they will start counting from that day on the situation, like.
That's the city who will start? Or
No,
the,
this is gonna be flood.
Okay.
This
Oh,
is
got it.
starting on it. So the other point that I found out, it's when I'm trying, because I spoke with the electrician, and the electrician have to be certified, have to be licensed, and we have to pull a permit. So the electrician stopped in one point because he didn't saw the permit on the city was okay in terms of the specification. On the city submittal, when you look at the drawings, when you look at the specification, there's no a specification that tells about the electricity connection. And the camera, it's solar, and that's why it doesn't require any permit. So that's why Kyle, on the last email, say that this is not necessary because the papers, the drawing that specifically were submitted for Leeward Point didn't talk about electricity. So they say if the official come here and they see the submission and they see that this is completely a different system, so I say, well, something is not okay. So I just wanted to make sure that this part was in sync, because at this point, the electrician say, I can do the job, but until I see the permitting, which is a temporary permit, closed or handle it in the proper way, I can start my work.
So how do we close it?
So that's exactly what
But the permit is,
let me finish that's why they're gonna come back to me and they're gonna tell me exactly how they're gonna do it. Because first, we need to understand if the time of the contract will be December of 23, and we're gonna have 1 year, which is already being paid. And by the way, this contract is for 24 months, which is, like 1 year, 24 plus 350 for some fee that requires. And then the next year will be 2,400. So it will be $4,800 every 2 years. So my question right now is, I get into a point where I start, like looking at the options. So first option, cancel the contract and lose $2,750, or option 2, continue with existing contract, pay what is remaining for the recurring
Like
payment,
service?
yes, which is going to kick in on 25. So we're gonna have 2 years until 26 to use that camera, because this camera is a leasing. We never own it. So the day that we don't pay, they're gonna take it and they're going to actually go somewhere else. So we're gonna stop with a bill of, I believe it's $200, per month for this camera service after the 2 years. And my option say, okay, well, let's take a try and see if the camera works. But since on the city, it's already submitted with the solar panel, and the city already cut the canopy, which was providing a lot of shade. And the camera right now, as you can see, I have the picture, it's completely exposed to the sky. So why don't we tell them, okay, bring the solar panel, let us try test the camera and see if it's working. And we don't need to actually pay for electricity, which is, like good idea in order for us to try 2 years with the service and see if we like it, we continue. If we don't like it, we don't continue. And the third, continue with the existing contract, pay the annual fee, and activate the camera and add the additional $1,500 for the electricity connection. Remember, once we have the electricity set it up directly, dedicated for that camera, that will be it, regardless of if we wanted to continue after 2 years with the camera or not. So those are the two options. But most important right now for me is understanding the day when the contract will kick in. In my understanding is when the camera is set up, when the camera is functioning, is the day that they're gonna start kicking in. But yeah, at least I need the contract department will contact me maybe tomorrow, maybe Friday, to let me know exactly what will be exactly the day that we are going to have this equipment booking. If that is the case, so then we're supposed to have $2,400 more that we need to pay next year. For this year, we already pay,
So that, I sent an invoice, we don't pay that.
no, we don't need to pay because they already paid for it for them.
Can I please answer some of the questions here?
Can I just say?
1 second, Joel wants to say one thing real
I
quick.
think we have a road to fight back and say, look, we want the solar, so come and replace the camera, put the solar and start the 24th month on that date. And if they say, oh, no, because you're asking, no, but you install the wrong camera, so we have the legal support to say, guys, we hired a solar, so come here to replace, which will give us.
Solar.
Sorry?
Not hire solar. I have it everything in writing. They did a test to evaluate because it costs the same having solar or not having solar. It's the same. So let me, Zhao, so let me.
It also comes with a solar panel. That's the trick part. So we need to understand that, and the contract department will talk to us and we'll elaborate more because that part, it's already on the contract as you read it. And so on the email that you sent me on the attachment, it says they including equipment and it says a solar panel.
Speak uninterrupted, please.
For the electrical is something else because they already have done what they're supposed to do, install the camera on the on the site and also the pole. So for us to make this work, there's two options. Or either go with the solar panel, which is included in the price, because that equipment, and there's no electricity, which is something that I really want to confront.
Hello.
I don't know what happened.
So,
Got completely disconnected. Are you still recording?
For theft prevention? That way you're.
I think so.
or-
Yeah,
Can I speak
recording.
regarding? Can I speak and answer regarding the flock system?
Yeah,
Interrupted. Can everybody hear me?
Yeah.
yes.
Okay. So regarding the solar versus non-solar. At the beginning, obviously, we wanted solar, okay? And they did an evaluation because the sun goes south, is there. They evaluated that it's not going to be sufficient during the zenith time. For those of you who don't know, zenith is when the sun is all the way in the top to have the camera functioning also throughout the night. So that evaluation was done. Regarding why the camera took so long to be installed. The reason the camera took so long to be installed is because this is the first camera of flock that is being installed in Dade County, or at least in our city. So they have to go through a process of NOA for the city, which took them more time. Now, the next customers of flock, they want to do it in our city, the process will be much faster because they already know what it is. Now, regarding of when we paying, when it starts from the moment the camera was installed in December. We already paid for the first year, so correct, we do not need to pay this invoice. It was a mistake from their end, and we have it, they acknowledging that.
We clarified that.
So we already paid for the first year. The
Yeah.
next payment of 2,400 will be probably next December, this coming December, or
Yeah.
whenever the
Well,
camera
December
was installed.
25th, yeah, December
Yes.
25th.
Okay. Very good. Very good. Now,
that's
so that means that right now we are already paying for service that we are not receiving. Every day that passes that we are not connected to electricity, we are losing that money. Now,
No,
here is,
this is something.
please let me finish.
Okay.
I ask not to be interrupted. Okay. Now regarding I have here an email from Kyle from Flock saying, "Hey Alan, you do not." This is from a few days ago, from March 14. Alan, you do not need to obtain permits to have the camera connected to an electrical source that the condo association owns. We work with communities all over the US, and I haven't encountered a scenario where further permitting was required. All
Okay.
that is left, wait, let me finish, please. All that is left for you to do is to contract a third party electrician to make the connection. They should be licensed and have insurance that allows them to work in the city. I will provide here a PDF that you can hand over, which we already got many times. You can hand over to your chosen electrician so they will understand the scope of the work. That is attached to this email. So I have all the documentation. We have it in black over white that we do not need permits. We have it directly from the company that's providing the service. Okay? We're continuing hashing this thing. The option of solar is not optional. Okay, it's the same cost. Trust me, we wanted that. It's the same cost, but it's just not going to work in that location. We also evaluated our other locations. I have photos, I have diagrams, I have everything that we throughout the process that we've done. It's just right now shoving papers and asking people the wrong questions. So let's please contract an electrician. And I'm making a motion right now to contract an electrician and connect it to the electricity. I'm making the motion. Vote right now.
I don't think that the motion is actually being held today, because first of all, if everything is so easy, as you say, so then why Kyle and all the department didn't answer me the question? Kyle doesn't have any information what happens in the city, since you know that this is the first time that everything happens. So for me, going to the city and see all the paper requirement, and Johan talk to me and send me all this information, for me was critical, because he said, I cannot do anything until I got clarification from what is submitted on the city of North Miami Beach. So Alan,
Just
it's
so let's do this.
because the
I
point here,
suggest
listen to me, because I already listened to you. The point here is not go back and forth, because for me, it's not a need to delay the process. For me, it's the concern. I'm sorry. I think you're completely off on your position. My position here is that to seek over the safety and the security of the community, and to get a fair and right process for all this. So if the
what safety and security?
Is the electrician, the contractor are telling me I cannot do anything until everything is clear on the city.
You told me the opposite.
Listen, I've been actually working with the company, and they are providing dripping information that right now I'm building up. Today, the person that I spoke with, they told me only the terms of the contract will start kicking in once the camera is still working. So means that even the installation on December, it's still not applied until the camera is functioning. So my point right now is getting into the contract department, understand that the situation, and having in writing, because we need to understand if we are losing that money or we are going to proceed.
Flux said that?
Yes, today. So for me, it's like I'm waiting for Johan, the electrician, to give me the final report, because if you've been reading all the communication that we already have access to, you understand what is Johan's position. It's not my position. It's not, I'm not the contractor. I'm just following the process. And I just want to make sure that this process is continuing to follow up and everybody is aware, because on the minutes on March of 23, this camera was approved without any consent of budget, any consent of price. And we are assuming a burden from previous board that we have to pay, because the contract is 24 months. So we are gonna go, because we know that this is a safety concern, and we need to make sure that we all agree on the process. So since this is already done, let's finish the process. Let's get into the 3 options that I actually see, and let's get further, because I think that
The 3 options that you provided are not
1 week
options.
more, 1 month more is not going to delay anything, because the contract, it's not going to start kicking in until the camera is fully operating. So
First of all, this is not the
I
information.
want to raise the motion
Okay,
to
now
follow
can
up, to investigate until we finalize and we get clear response to all the community owners that we have the proper procedure to follow this camera. I don't care if I have to take
we
1
have
month.
all the
I'm not
response.
going to take
One second,
another
one
time
second.
to do this.
Okay, you said,
take 1
Alan,
year,
Alan,
we're gonna
did you
take
have?
another month.
I have something to add. I
Okay,
recommend we invite Flock for our next meeting, so you can ask all the questions, and I'm gonna and let's even be more proactive. Let's send them an email with all the questions that Alfredo has. Let's invite them to our next meeting to answer all those questions in front of everybody, so we can just finish with this.
Completely agree and okay with the process or not, because we have to pay $1,500 on top of the $2,400 that we're gonna pay next year. So this is about $4,000 that is not on the budget.
But that's
and it's not.
okay.
I'm sorry. We are trying to minimize.
But that's a different subject.
expenditure.
But this is a
The
different
way that
subject.
you are cutting off the prices, we need to understand that we are working in an austerous way.
we have 1 quote from one
No,
electrician. It could be,
Why 1,500? Why
Palmega is
1,500?
the one that works with us with the electrical.
But why? I'm sorry. With all due respect,
Actually, I'm not aware of the situation.
can I speak without being interrupted?
go.
Mega is a great company, but they are a very big company, and they're a company for big projects. This is something that a just finished electrician school job can do. So if you take any other electrician that is like a small mom and pop shop that is licensed and insured, can do this job for $600. So why do we have to be married with Mega to do a job so simple and pay $1,500 for it?
You need a permit. You need a permit because when the city
Sorry, but
completes a
we do
project,
not.
they're
We
gonna
do
ask
not need a
for
permit.
this because that camera
We
is
do
actually
not
a nuisance
need
on the
The,
property. No, I
we
mean,
do
we need
not.
to be logical and we need to be transparent, we need to be by the law. I'm not going by under any circumstances to do something cut corner like he wants to do. Sorry, everything has to be legal and with permit.
Any corner. This is black
one
and
second,
white.
Alan, 1 second, Alan.
Statement from the city saying what you have or do not have to do. I mean, you can just contact code enforcement and they'll give you something. There's a supervisor there. I know him. Like, it's really not a big deal to get an official statement from the city.
As to whether we would need a permit or not.
And then you can bid for it and see who does the best job and who has the most certification.
Did you hear that?
Part of it.
Basically go to the city, get an official statement. What's required, do you need a permit or not? And off of that, get quotes from a couple different licensed and insured electricians. Because
I'm all for getting a few quotes from licensed and insured electricians, but on the permitting side, we already having it black and white, and we are covered legally. So I just don't understand why we continue wasting this time. The city, I mean, even the city doesn't know 100% how to handle it because the camera is not even installed on our property. It's installed on the right of way. It's a different type of permitting that was done.
Prove that you need a permit by the city.
I'm sorry, this is not a right of way. This is part of the community, even though it's a right of way, it's part of the community. I'm sorry, Alan. I think that you are.
I actually
Okay.
have.
Here's,
They came.
we have
They
bigger
came.
things to
They
do.
measured.
Here's what I say. We go down to city. I actually like your idea.
Oh, you know, I think it's the building department. Because the building department handles electrical, I believe. But I can ask the supervisor who handles code enforcement, like, who do you speak to? If you email me.
No, I'm gonna go to the city with the plan that is needed, which actually talks about solar panel and electrical, and I'm gonna ask everything in order to clarify. Because it seems like every time that I actually do something or say something, it's all to a scrutiny. So let's be conscious, let's be actually, because you are talking in speculation, because until you see the information that is laid out on the internet, on the email, you will, let me just.
Verbal.
I'm gonna print out the
Right, that's what I
drawing.
mean.
I'm gonna print out the submittal drawing where it said, and I'm gonna show to everyone, if you wanna can actually do a PowerPoint and show exactly that the submittal doesn't match the contract.
I suggest something. I agree with you.
Why don't we ask that from
One
Flock,
second.
the one that did the permits? The permits are under Flock's name.
It's solar. It looks like my contract never talked about electrical, correct? Alfred, what was saying the contract? My point is we have to go back.
Contracts would be modified, right?
No, but you didn't. The point is we have to.
It's still a rush down and yet.
Well, the thing is that.
Okay, so-
Can do an evaluation, aside from changing from the company, do an evaluation and determine that needs to be electrical duty. So the point here is that there's a contradiction.
Can I connect with you on that building person and we email that building person and say, here's where this is located?
No, I think that it would be better for clarification to have the set of drawing, bring it to the city. I will probably go, if you want to actually come with me, I will go and then we actually ask for that.
But it's better to have an official statement in writing. First, you make a request to find out, and then you get something in writing. That way you put in your records. And that way, if anyone questions what you've done or not done.
But they need to understand the scope of work because
He says, oh, you needed a.
Marcela, you need to understand the scope of work.
Well, I mean, and their standard answer is probably you need a permit. For protection.
But when you ask 3,000 times, do I need a permit? What do you think they're
They'll
gonna
say
tell you?
yes.
Of course. So Robert, please, the permit is under Flock's, it's under Flock. They do the
Alan is
permit.
saying the permit is under Flock, not under Leeward Point.
So let Flock come to us in writing from the city. Ask the city all those questions and let Flock deal with it because they are the ones that did all the process and did the permit.
Yeah.
And if they indeed did a permit for a solar camera, let them correct it. The more we get involved, the more we are complicating things. So let Flock.
If permits under Flock, then they need to finalize that.
Okay, so please refresh.
So,
because
I'm ending this conversation. The important thing that the homeowners need to know, is, Primex has submitted a resignation letter to our association. And so, they will be with us through the end of April. And in that they will, not be attending meetings, but they will be still doing, AP, AR,
We've done a lot of very good commissions.
yeah, Primex. So that's one side of the coin. The other side of the coin is we have to have a new property manager. Alfredo has been investigating various property managers. We've actually already done one interview with multiple property or one round of interviews with multiple property managers. We're now on round 2. There's some property managers that went beyond that. They were like, you're either too small or it would be clearly way too expensive. So we're not even going to go down this path. Currently-ish 1,500.
Good property managers that charge a lot less. I can ask 2 or 3 property managers that I know and I can send it to you. Call them. And you can ask.
Even minus on the next project was $2,400. And we didn't understand why. So now shopping, it's like getting into.
So you have
the
to
reality.
how many are you looking at now?
Well, we actually get free inside this process much before the designation requirements. So we got 5, so we're gonna go with 3.
When do you guys think, ultimately before end of April?
I don't know, sure, yeah, talking about 30 to 30 days, so as soon as possible with this.
Just a question regarding to the previous property managers. We made an agreement with all the previous vendor things we have with them, especially the banks, the balance, the documents.
Not that there will be a lot of requests in there.
By law, they're required to turn anything over to us. That is, any of that is Leeward Point's property. Now, the gray area, and this is the part that I don't truly know about, are text messages, emails, WhatsApps. Are those Leeward Point's property? I don't know. And that will be a thing that, we'll have to dig through, but any formal documents, invoices.
Chapter 7.8 allows for you to do a records request. They have to provide it to you within 10 days or they get fined $100 a day.
That technically still needs to be signed by DeSantis.
No, it does not. I can give you the records request, chapter 7.8 section that does the records request that it's requiring 10 days. It doesn't require DeSantis.
No, well, I mean, not on the thing, but the new law hasn't been signed by him yet.
Robert, in my understanding, are we gonna follow with the attorney and we're gonna actually work with the management to actually get all this primary information like what we did with the.
There's some pre-work, so we don't have the new property manager, we don't have an attorney, we have the third entity also in the equation. And we.
Oh, okay, yes.
You as a homeowner, you send it to the property manager and then they have to provide you. Is it?
Okay.
So.
So that's, I wanted to let the homeowners know that there will be transition. We are working on the communication piece to that because that impacts monthly maintenance payments, special assessments. There's going to be transition to homeowners and for homeowners. And so that is something that we need to communicate and
Where do checks get sent? We just put in that little box over there in the side?
up until the end of April, it will still be the same. Yeah,
And then post April will figure it out.
Yeah. yeah, uh-huh.
Do you want me to send you an email that I sent to Sylvia when she was asking me for help for finding a property manager? I have a name and you can call them.
We already started this proposal a long time ago, we are already started this process.
So you already signed a contract? with them?
No, we went for a bidding process, we are now finalizing with 3 entities.
So
and
you
we
don't
are
want to hear about new entities?
at this stage, yes, it will be on, yes.
Okay.
It's because we are ending the process. And we don't have the time to go again to the process, we just have a resignation and we need to have these people in place.
One question, since Marcela just mentioned that, the process of payment when we do the transition will be, because that main box, it was advanced.
So, okay, you want to enter in this topic? Each one of the unit owners have different process of payment. We will need to define with the new property manager, what is going to be the transition. If it's going to be, for example, oh, for 1 month, everybody pays by check or goes to deposit in the bank, etc. This is still not defined. These are very recently news. We need to address that in 100,000 topics. So that will be addressed.
Yeah, no, because that mailing box is no use, I have no use in there. I saw that Marcela is the only one that is depositing it. So we need to understand that if we're gonna keep using that or
We will communicate whether,
We don't understand it.
Person the other day asked me where it was. Listen, the point is that most people use the app and like you can just pay.
yeah.
And like my mom has auto pay, but like this new assessment, she was like, oh, she put it in the box.
Yeah, and and it's a good point. There's 3 or 4 or 5 different channels through which homeowners can pay. And we need to make sure that all of those
Check.
are checked
So they-
and or we communicate. Yeah, and or we communicate. There were 5, now there's 3. Here are those 3.
Right.
Yeah.
Because we all have, I think for building, I think and then it stops and the automatic will be within the new property manager's system. We hope everything is still to be decided and start. They usually ask for 30 to 60 days transition. We're gonna do this in a very short period of time. And at the same time, we are doing the RFP, we are doing all the things you've heard, so that's it.
Very busy.
That's it.
So, I know you want to talk balcony.
Yeah, okay.
Let's keep on track, and keep short. So essentially, really, what was that? 2 meetings ago, we said, I'm sorry, the finance, yeah. And I also asked, Orlando this, because I was speaking with him, and not specific to yours, because I wanted a broader picture. I'm like, Orlando, I'm confused why the association would change 75% of the railings, not 100%, not 50%, and yeah, and so I'm like, I'm just trying to understand, and so
they did that either.
Yeah,
No.
because it was Mark who told you, right?
Yeah.
And so I don't have the answer to that, but I'm just providing like what.
You had requested information and should be, which then he forwarded the response from Mark to the Leeward Association.
Yeah, and so what we're trying to do is, and I know it's frustrating to you. Yeah.
You guys, tiles is getting in.
And that's where, because I had to deal with, the board had to deal with certain homeowners in terms of the drywall. We want to replace it, and we're like, yes, I get that, and there's different things, and at the end of the day, you can quote unquote do what you want in your home, not to full extent, but the principle is we are trying to create this fair process, and sometimes that takes some time.
Right, but you have the duty to mitigate damages. So when you open up, because I allow access, and you open up in the unit, tile, and you expose it to the elements, and then the actual anchor area is even more exposed now.
Yeah.
Water comes in and just sits there.
I mean, and
It's creating a situation.
right. And really, and so here's the challenge to me in my limited engineering mind. Putting any new railing, forget about the code aspect, okay? Just that's an issue, I get that. But putting any new railing won't necessarily resolve the issue of the tiles being on top of it and water going underneath, correct?
There is no tile there.
Right, so water.
So now it's being exposed to the elements. So more water can get in to where the actual anchor is.
Right, and so in that aspect, there's a partnership here that needs to happen, that if there is any type of repair or anything to the railing, again, not talking about code, just if there was a repair to the railing, then there's also a partnership on your side in terms of fixing the tiles.
That goes without saying, I don't have any problem fixing the tile. As a matter of fact, they've already been broken by the association, they have to be fixed.
Yeah.
But, it's something that has to happen with someone who comes out that you guys provide because it's your hiring. So the association has to get the estimates, not put that burden upon the unit owner to simply get quotes, go with the best quote that you feel comfortable with, and I know the repairs of the tile. So if it happens in tandem, it happens in tandem. If they need to anchor it in and make sure that the cement slab is not going to compromise or spackling occurred, then, fine. But I'm responsible for the tile. I don't have a problem bearing that cost. It's already been broken. And the first thing I had to do is approve that the association could come in and break my tiles. I already did. So I'm at the point where I just want to fix it, but I need you guys to fix the rail.
Yeah, and that's the process we're working through. So I know it takes time, but we're working through that. And my promise to you, yeah, and 2 months with us, and so.
Yes, but it's been crucial months because of the fact that the tile is now exposed and the elements are now exposed.
Yeah.
Everything's
And so.
and broken.
I just don't understand why she would not help us get 2 or 3 quotes. With all the work that we have and all the emergency that's going on and everything that is being done by us is as volunteers, why a homeowner, which is not even a homeowner, is coming to us with demands from things that happened on previous boards. And one of the things that we're trying to avoid is getting involved with the tile, because that's exactly what we predicted. Then she's going to come and say that we are ruining her tiles, which she just said. She just said we came in and broke her tile.
It's already been removed. It's.
Here's what I'll do. I'll ask Orlando if he can provide a couple people.
And we have decided that with besides these, there's the.
Or maybe you can ask, maybe you can ask Jay, maybe you can ask Jay, maybe he knows something. You're
And
eventually gonna have to, at the 50-year recertification, you're gonna have to bring all of the documents to code because they're 6 inches, not 4. So that's gonna be an issue that you're not gonna get certified.
yeah,
All right.
thank you for your engagement. Good to see you. Oh. Maintenance.
Tennis court floor was clean, was pressure clean, and it's all, like clear, but
Now I can ride my bike on it again.
no, but I mean, there is some serious problem. There is some serious problem because there's some indication, like big indications of cracks, puddles, and also resurface wear.
It's uneven, isn't it?
It's only, yeah, those are what they call, like birth path or puddles, or, so they need to be resurfaced. I think that was brought up in 2020, and it's been 4 years not maintenance.
I will say right
No,
now,
no,
we're
I
not
know,
gonna
I know,
resurface
I
the
know.
tennis court this year.
But at least to this board to make the acknowledge that this has been going on and we haven't, like take some action. So there is 2 options, repairs or resurface.
Zero.
Okay.
This is the one time we put a lipstick on a pig and we pressure wash it and anything.
All right, well, but at least it's acknowledged. Okay, good. Because I'm gonna tell you, a repair is about like $1,000, but a resurface is going to be between $5,000 to $8,000.
Yeah, it's
This
expensive.
is something that we need to consider for budget or for next team that is coming.
Next year, that's the sequence. Because I started to see.
Well, but I mean, we need to actually diversify, all the operation because.
But you cannot, if you start load these into the maintenance fees, this is gonna be the most expensive place to live in Florida. So we need to be cautious on the capacity, financial capacity.
No, well, we evaluate, but at least to consider because, or either we paint, we try to find, options to make it a little bit more appealing because it's.
Not even right now.
Okay. No, I'm not saying that right now. I'm just saying that we need to consider that in a project. That's it. Okay, that's all for me. That's all for maintenance. Thank you very much.
And sorry, it's not against you, obviously, it's just. Yeah.
But at least we need to notify it as a board because that it's showing clearly that we are worried and concerned about all the facility and everything has to be, working in a good condition for.
Yeah, so we need to figure out something on Gregory's balcony.
I think
41, even if you, and I get what you're saying, even if he was rough and tumble and whatever. But if you go around and look, it's literally partly hanging.
Yeah, no, the flood stucco is being off. This is the slab. This is something that somebody did, and it's already being.
I'm not in Canada, so okay, tell me. I don't know.
Good price for you, my friend.
But I think that, as I recall last week, you said that you're going to get with MD5 to understand exactly the situation because they are the ones, like make the assessment on the issue. And
Yes.
that's okay. This is the way that you're going to fix, and this is not going to repair.
This is because I will be against all the specials for everything. So if you tell me that this is the item, and we actually concrete something, and it will cost us $500, why do we put like 200 or more?
But it's the whole story is coming up.
How much? Because I have no idea. How much would it cost us? This type of thing,
Like a couple of $1,000.
Well, of course.
And I don't
And by the
know.
way, I'm sure there's more than one balcony that has a situation. I'm
There's
sure
more
there's
than
more
one.
than one. Yeah.
No, because
Yeah.
what I
Yeah,
everything is coming down and there's a lot of cracks. So the contractor who's coming here needs to demolish everything until the point that nothing is detached. So that is demolition, one thing, and the other thing is prep the surface and then trying to get the stucco back in, so it's going to be.
Upside down.
Exactly.
Okay.
We need to ask NV5 to evaluate it and suggest a company, because it's a specific company that specializes in that type of repair.
It's because it's potentially not just the stucco. If the concrete slab itself is deteriorated or whatever, then there's bigger issues. It's the same type of thing, frankly, with Marcella's balcony.
They have tiles on top of the balcony, there is a lot of water, like sitting in fact, I make the observation that there was like, ficus were growing into the slab. Exactly.
I'm not gonna call them out for a special meeting, but when they're here, hey, can I just show you this real quick? Yeah.
I hope they know what they're looking and then they tell us, it's 1, 2, or 3.
Well, first we need to have somebody who actually make the assessment, and then we need to actually at least have 3 estimates in order to go to the first process and document it. And then- All right.
Peace out. Alan, have a good cruise. Enjoy your time.
Thank you.